Welcome to History with Herodotus, where the past comes alive through the power of storytelling and the rigor of historical inquiry. Today, we embark on a fascinating journey to explore one of the pivotal battles in world history, the Battle of Talas, which took place in 75D1 AD. This battle, fought between the Abbasid Caliphate and the Tang Dynasty, marked a significant turning point in the history of Central Asia, with far-reaching consequences that would echo through the centuries. In the early 8th century, the Abbasid Caliphate, under the leadership of Caliph al-Mansur, was expanding its territories, driven by a desire to spread Islam and consolidate power. Meanwhile, the Tang Dynasty, which had risen to prominence in China in the 7th century, was seeking to extend its influence into Central Asia, motivated by a desire to control the lucrative Silk Road trade routes. The city of Talas, located in modern-day Kyrgyzstan, was a strategic outpost on the Silk Road, a vital artery of trade and cultural exchange between East and West. The Tang Dynasty had established a presence in the region with a series of military outposts and trading centers, while the Abbasid Caliphate was seeking to assert its dominance over the local population. As we delve deeper into the events leading up to the Battle of Talas, we find ourselves in the midst of a complex web of alliances and rivalries, with various tribes and city-states vying for power in the region. The Tang Dynasty had forged an alliance with the Turkic tribes, who were eager to resist the advances of the Abbasid Caliphate. Meanwhile, the Abbasids were seeking to win over the loyalty of the local population, using a combination of diplomacy, trade, and military might to achieve their goals. The battle lines were drawn, with the Tang Dynasty and its allies preparing to face off against the Abbasid Caliphate and its own network of allies. The armies of both empires were formidable, with thousands of soldiers, horses, and war machines at their disposal. The outcome of the battle was far from certain, as both sides possessed significant military strength and strategic advantages. As the armies of the Tang Dynasty and the Abbasid Caliphate faced off on the plains near Talas, the air was thick with tension. The year was 751 AD, and the fate of Central Asia hung in the balance. The Tang forces, led by the seasoned general Gao Shanji, were bolstered by their Turkic allies, who brought with them a deep knowledge of the local terrain. Meanwhile, the Abbasid army, under the command of Abu Muslim, was driven by a fierce determination to spread the faith of Islam and assert the dominance of the Caliphate. On July 7, 751 AD, the two armies clashed in a frenzy of steel and horseflesh. The Tang forces, with their characteristic discipline and organization, formed a series of defensive lines anchored by their heavy cavalry. The Abbasid army, on the other hand, relied on its mobility and archery, seeking to wear down the Tang lines through a hail of arrows and relentless harassment. As the battle raged on, the Turkic tribesmen proved to be a decisive factor, using their knowledge of the terrain to launch a series of devastating flanking maneuvers that threatened to encircle the Abbasid army. Despite being outnumbered, the Abbasid forces held their ground, inspired by the charismatic leadership of Abu Muslim. As one contemporary account noted, the Muslims fought with a ferocity that was like a raging fire, consuming everything in its path. The Tang lines began to waver, and it seemed as though the tide of the battle might turn in favor of the Abbasids. However, Gao Shanji, the Tang general, remained calm and resolute, directing his troops with a series of clever maneuvers that slowly but surely pushed the Abbasid army back. As the day wore on, the sun beating down relentlessly on the combatants, the battle became increasingly brutal and intense. The clash of steel on steel echoed across the plains, punctuated by the screams of the wounded and the dying. It was said that the river Talas ran red with blood as the armies clashed in a frenzy of violence, and yet, despite the chaos and carnage, the outcome of the battle remained far from certain, as both sides traded blows and neither gained the upper hand. In the midst of this maelstrom, a small group of Abbasid soldiers managed to break through the Tang lines, striking deep into the heart of the enemy's camp. There, they encountered a contingent of Chinese papermakers, who had been traveling with the Tang army in the hopes of introducing their craft to the people of Central Asia. The Abbasid soldiers, recognizing the potential value of this technology, took the papermakers prisoner and would later introduce paper production to the Islamic world, revolutionizing the spread of knowledge and ideas across the region. As the Abbasid soldiers took the Chinese papermakers prisoner, they unknowingly set in motion a chain of events that would have far-reaching consequences for the spread of knowledge and ideas across the Islamic world. The introduction of paper production to the Middle East would revolutionize the way people communicated, recorded their thoughts, and preserved their history. This technological transfer would also facilitate the translation of Greek and Roman texts into Arabic, laying the foundation for the Islamic Golden Age, a period of unprecedented intellectual and cultural flourishing. The Battle of Talas itself, however, was far from over. Despite the initial breakthrough by the Abbasid soldiers, the Tang forces managed to regroup and launch a series of counterattacks. The fighting continued for several more days, with both sides suffering heavy casualties. Ultimately, it was the Abbasid army that emerged victorious, having successfully repelled the Tang invasion and secured a crucial victory for the Caliphate. The aftermath of the battle saw the signing of a peace treaty between the two empires, which would hold for several decades. The Tang Dynasty, though defeated, managed to maintain its control over the western regions of China, while the Abbasid Caliphate expanded its influence into Central Asia. The battle also marked the beginning of a period of increased cultural exchange between the Islamic world and China, with merchants, scholars, and travelers moving freely between the two civilizations. As the centuries passed, the Battle of Talas would be remembered as a pivotal moment in world history, one that shaped the course of human civilization in profound ways. As the historian Ibn Khaldun would later write, the Battle of Talas was a disaster for the Chinese, and it marked the beginning of the end of their expansion into Central Asia. The battle's legacy can be seen in the spread of paper production, the translation of classical texts, and the flourishing of Islamic culture and learning. Today, the Battle of Talas is remembered as a testament to the power of cultural exchange and the enduring legacy of human ingenuity. It serves as a reminder that even in the midst of conflict and violence, there can be moments of profound beauty and transformation. That's all for today's History with Herodotus. Remember to like, share, and subscribe, and until next time, remember that to understand the present, we must first understand the past.